All right. Happy Halloween, everybody. Happy Scary Movie Month. We are sadly wrapping up the great month of October with our Scary Movie Month recap. Before we get into it, I don't know about you, Rob, but I'm unlike other months or other Octobers, I am kind of looking forward to November a little bit just to watch other genres. That's
hmm
not to say that I'm souring any on what I have upcoming in Scary Movie Month, but I've got this Regarding Henry DVD just waiting to go, and I'm ready for it. And then also like I'm sure people can understand this. I one time saw a picture of Jennifer Connelly on Facebook, and I clicked on it, and it was her in the movie The Hot Spot. So now, like all the time, I get pictures of her in The Hot Spot. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, I've never seen The Hot Spot. So like, I have that on Tubi all ready to go. So yeah, the post Music Box of Horrors week long slide is a real thing, and
Yeah.
then it picks up at Scary Movie Night. So anyways,
Yeah.
we do want to talk about what we've been watching because I've watched at this point 47 horror movies throughout the month of October.
I've been watching postseason baseball.
I've been watching it here and there, but not nearly to the amount that you have been.
I am going to say for my half of this, folks. By the time you see this, you'll have heard my podcast episode with Patrick this week. So I am splitting my what I've seen lately because I want to save some for that. So Adam's going to have a lot more than I do this time, but it's because I'm splitting them up. So anyway, Adam, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask you kind of like a big question to start us
Yes.
off. Is there like a new to me movie for you that's like stood out?
So there was nothing revelatory for me this month. This was a
I'm with
month,
me.
at least so far. We have a few days left as we're recording this, and there's a few things I do want to see. This was a month where revisiting old favorites was a really great time for me. I
Mm.
did, I watched Silent Hill as always. I watched Scream as always. I watched Suspiria 2017. I watched, or 2018. I can't remember what year it was. Um, I watched a bunch of favorites, and they were as good as I remember. They were as fun as I remember, and they really did give me a nice landing pad for certain things that happened over the course of the month. Where it's like I needed some reassurance, I needed some fun, and it was a really nice time. But was there a big one for you that really stood out for a first time watch?
No, I haven't had mine yet. I'm hoping that it's the one movie that I'm really looking forward to that I have left is Buried Alive, which is the Frank Darabont directed made for TV movie from 1990.
Yeah.
And I'm optimistic because I watched his 30-minute short of The Woman in the Room that he did from the Night Shift collection, which was like a Dollar Baby thing that he did in 1983,
Okay.
and you can find it on YouTube, and it's excellent. And you're just kind of like, wow, he's had it all along.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing Buried Alive because that's my last Darabont. The rest of the stuff is like I like certain things in these movies. There's not there hasn't been too many like outright stinkers.
Yeah.
Like Burnt Offerings, I saw at the Music Box of Horrors. It's a 1970s Dan Curtis directed movie that has a similar plot to House of the Devil, where it's like you're going to be alone in this house, but by the way, my elderly mother is in this room and stuff like that. And
Go in there.
I think it works better in House of the Devil because there's a better payoff and it's a little bit shorter. Burnt Offerings is like nearly 2 hours, and the payoff at the end is like pretty sensational, but it's like 3 minutes. So it feels a little bit too much stretching. I watched Insidious The Red Door, which is like a great drama and a bad horror movie. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but all the stuff between Ty Simpkins, I think I'm getting his name right. I always confuse him with Ty Sheridan.
Yeah.
Ty Simpkins and Patrick Wilson is really good. And then I watched Psycho 3, and it's got some good stuff in it. It has like a really go for broke sleaze Jeff Fahey performance that's very enjoyable to watch. But everything that Psycho 3 does well, Psycho 2 does twice as good. So that's been my new to me watches for the month. It's been a lot of like I like things here and there, but I can't like fully recommend anything. But I have had better luck with like rewatches. You had mentioned some of like kind of the classics that you
Yeah.
watched that are like your old kind of favorites. Some of the ones that have gotten bumps where they either were movies I was kind of mixed on, but now I fully like, or movies I didn't like that now I like, are Graveyard Shift. Stephen King's Graveyard Shift is so sleazy,
Yeah.
um, and so mannered and kind of like that coastal Maine dialect. But I just love it now. It's great. It would be like a perfect double bill with Thinner.
Yeah.
And then Sugar Hill, which is a movie that I liked, but I like love now. It's with Marky Bay, who looks like blaxploitation Amanda Bynes, and she's adorable. And like it's kind of a zombie movie, but kind of not. But it's like classic blaxploitation, where it's just like we got to get revenge on the gangsters. So
I'm
it's
almost
pretty great.
positive I watched that. I know I've seen it, but I'm almost positive I watched it for Black Exploitation Day during a June exploitation recently. In the last couple of years, I'd love to rewatch that. I remember liking it a lot.
Yeah, that's how I watched it too. Was in a past June exploitation. And then Child's Play 3 played at the Music Box of Horrors at like 6 in the morning, and it was shockingly good in a theater. So
Okay.
I don't know. I was always of the opinion where it was just like that's
That's
the
the bad
bad
one.
one.
Yeah.
Like I like 1, 2, and 3 quite a bit, and Bride of Chucky is pretty good too. So,
Yeah.
and then lastly, Leprechaun 2 surprised me. I think it has just the right amount of colorful supporting characters. There's the guy who plays Jerry Seinfeld's creepy uncle on Seinfeld, who has a prominent role in this. And it's sort of after watching The Fanatic, it would be like a good double feature with Leprechaun 2 because it's just so much about like hustlers on Hollywood Boulevard living on the margins, and it just also happens to be a Leprechaun movie.
I will say real quick, just a couple things that played. You were talking about movies that played better for you, and this is a
Yeah.
movie that I like to begin with. But our buddy Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. My second viewing of that was pretty spectacular. After
Good.
you brought it
Yeah.
up earlier in the month, and I sent you a picture. I think because when I bought the Blu-ray, because I just randomly picked it up because it was on sale, and I realized I didn't have it yet. And man, if they made a movie, I am such a Resident Evil 1 and 2 PlayStation game kid that like they just mash them together and they don't care that it makes no sense and they don't care that the characters are kind of sideways and it's just such a weird midnighty movie. It's such a I don't know, it's got such an interesting edge to it. It's not particularly well done in any aspect, but it's just like a gleeful B movie. I don't know. I just really enjoy watching it outside of just being a Resident Evil fan. Like I just think it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. I saw it right after I saw Belfast, and it was like the perfect movie to chase Belfast with, where I'm just like, oh yeah, I do still like movies.
We talked about us both having seen recently The Pope's Exorcist.
I did,
Um,
yeah.
I'm a fan of that movie. I feel like you're probably a little bit colder on it. What were your thoughts on that one?
It's again one of those movies where there's stuff in it that I like quite a bit,
Yeah,
but I just have an allergy to exorcism movies
sure.
other than The Exorcist and The Exorcist 3. So I lose interest pretty quickly, but there's a lot of stuff in it like Russell Crowe like flirting with nuns and
Yeah,
like
yeah. I
just riding on his Vespa to Faith No More. I mean, there's
yeah.
stuff in it I enjoy.
I think I said to you, like, it's not good, but it's ham and cheese. And like, and
Yeah,
I really do. I want it because spoilers for the movie, but they open it up at the end as if it's going to be like the new Dark Universe. So like they give
yeah,
him a mission at the end. And I just want this to be Russell Crowe's Hercule Poirot series. Like, I want him to
it was
do,
cool.
I
Yeah.
want him to do a Kenneth Branagh on this and just make these trashy little like Pope's Exorcist movies every year.
And then I do want to give a shout out to some funny stuff that happened during Halloween season. So I got shamed twice by young girls in movie theaters this month because I shouldn't be watching the movie I'm watching in the theater. We'll
Okay.
get to the second one in a second. But I had that with Hocus Pocus, and I was like, listen, I've been HP diehard since '97.
Yeah.
So, like, leave me alone. So I was sitting in the back. I moved closer to the front of the theater, and the movie sort of just enveloped me. And I have never been more impressed with the cinematography of Hocus Pocus. It was like drinking it in. It was pretty amazing. I saw Carnival of Souls, and I did not know that the Gene Siskel Film Center validated a specific parking lot. And I learned the hard way because
Oh,
I spent $58 on parking in downtown Chicago to see Carnival of Souls. but it was worth it because that movie is amazing.
Yeah.
I'd never seen it in a theater before, and it's very rare for anybody to get a chance to see it in a theater. So that was really cool.
Cool. Very cool.
But the coolest cinematic experience of the month was on Friday the 13th. Somebody took Manhattan this year,
Mhm.
but she
Mhm.
also took Dallas. She
Mhm.
took Los Angeles.
Mhm.
She took Philadelphia. She
Mhm.
took Chicago.
Mhm.
She went global.
Mhm.
She was a busy gal.
She was
And that
everywhere.
is one Miss Taylor Swift with the Eras tours.
Obviously, at this point, if you're watching this, you or your wives or husbands or daughters or sons or whoever maybe may have seen it, you probably know one out of every two Americans knows someone who has seen the Eras tour live, I guess. And now at this point, the rest of us have seen it in the movies. I didn't get to go um,
Mhm.
to see it live, but I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really great. I thought that the show itself. I'm so much of a person where like I prefer to see that in the movies because it's the kind of thing where like if I was to be able to get seats to it, they wouldn't be seats anywhere close to
Yeah.
anything where I'd be able to see anything really. So I really appreciated being able to see this in in stereo in the theater with the angles I was able to get from the photography being done there. Close-ups where there needed to be close-ups, the stage where you needed to see the stage, sort of an aerial view as well. And I thought it was a great show. I thought it was a great performance. She's killer. She's professional. She knows exactly what she's doing in basically every facet of her life now, which is why I respect her a ton. Yeah, we had a great time. So what did you think of it? You're cresting on the edge of possibly becoming a Taylor Swift fan, I think. So how did it play for you?
Yeah. So this was my Love Lights Hanukkah of the year.
Yes.
I was always somebody who respected Taylor Swift. I didn't connect with a lot of her music, but that kind of bared out when I was watching the movie because there were certain stretches with like she's in the woods or it's like folklore
Out of folklore.
or like the early country stuff where I'm just pretty checked out.
Sure.
But her pop stuff is really great and it's just up my alley. And I kind of my the thing I was always hanging on to was like I'm just like I don't know if I'm a Taylor Swift guy, but like Shake It Off is like one of the best pop songs I've heard in the 20th or in the 21st century or the 20th century because I knew about it back.
Beautiful.
It's interesting because I had sort of two different experiences with the movie. Like I said, I got shamed. I was sitting in the back. Two 10-year-old girls were making fun of me for being at the Taylor Swift movie. So I was like, fuck this. I'm going to go, after I get back from the washroom, I'm going to sit in the front because there was like nobody in the front.
Right.
Luckily, I went to a screening where there wasn't dancing and singing. So, and I sat in the front and it was like a completely different experience. I felt like I was in the pit at the concert because the screen was so large
Yeah.
and I was right by like the bass and the subwoofer and stuff. And it was kind of like running through the seat in a way that it wasn't when I was sitting in the back. And I explained it on the Urban Legend podcast. It felt like I was Gennaro on the toilet in Jurassic Park and Taylor Swift was T-Rex. And I wanted nothing more than for her to conquer and dominate me. And she did. And it gave me like an instant appreciation for her in a way that I hadn't before.
Mhm.
And then just seeing her pop up at like football games all month, it's like nobody's ever looked better in Kansas City Chiefs clothes. It's like kind of unbelievable. Um, and there was stuff in the show like where I was like taken aback by how impressed I was, where I was like, look at that snake coming out of the
Oh, the snake, the
into the
reputation
crowd.
area, yeah.
Or like when she dove into the stage and then swam and she was like this little blot of blood and stuff. I'm like, is she okay? Like, so I just found a whole new set of respect and admiration for her. And I would say that I'm a rubber stamped fan of
There you
Taylor
go.
Swift now.
There you
So,
go. You
yeah.
thought it might be a nice idea to wrap things up to end with our top five songs from the Eras Tour movie.
All right. So I have a few runners up
Okay.
because it pained me to just leave it at five.
Sure.
So in the runners up, I had Karma, Bewitched, and
Jewel?
Miss Americana and the Half Blood Prince.
So it was Karma, it was Bejeweled, and it was Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like Lover and Midnight's the most. It seems like
Yeah.
consistently of the song. Um, and that's what she begin. That's the bookends of the movie. So
She,
that's pretty nice. Okay, so my number five, I will go with Lover.
all right. My number five, I'm more of a folklore fan than you are. I'm gonna go with August. August is one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs.
My number four is gonna be Cruel Summer.
Okay. My number four is gonna be Style off of 1989, one of my favorites.
My number three will be Ready for It.
My number three will also be Ready for It. I love that
Yeah,
song.
there you go. My number two will be Lavender Haze.
You love that Lavender Haze.
I
So.
do love Lavender Haze.
I'm gonna go. My number two is gonna be She Plays You're on Your Own Kid during the Secret set. She plays that on piano. That's one of my favorites as well.
And my number one is Shake It Off. Not necessarily in the movie, but just in general,
In
it's
general.
Shake It Off.
My number one is Cruel Summer, which I'm so happy because of. I mean, obviously, this is not the worst thing that happened during COVID, but one of the major things that happened during COVID was that Lover came out and she was not able to tour it, and so most of the world missed out on Cruel Summer. And now it was just this week, I guess, certified at number one or something. However, it is we calculate records and songs these days, but it was just turned into a number one song, and it absolutely deserves to be because it's a banger. So, Cruel Summer is number one for me.
Also, I just want to give a shout out that, like, obviously we're in a weird spot with theatrical exhibition right now. And I love that Stop Making Sense came out last month and I got to see that in the theater and it's an incredible concert movie. And then we have Taylor Swift and this is like her at, a, as of now, career peak.
Right.
And then we've got Beyonce's Renaissance tour coming out in December. And I know exactly what seat to sit in when I go see that. So it's really cool. And to your point, like I prefer to see a concert in a movie theater. Better view, you get perfect sound, and also it's something that you can put in a box and keep with you, and you can revisit a song or the whole thing whenever you want, and you don't have to hold up your phone and try to capture a song or something like that. So this was really fun. Thank you, Taylor Swift, for being a part of our Scary Movie Month.
Yes.
Do a horror movie.
Ooh.
We'll review it on reserve seating. I want her to be Ghostface. And it's like she's not one of the friends. She just shows up as
Just shows up. I want it to be like the last Scream movie where they kept doing the face reveals in the they just one random one is just Taylor Swift, like and then she just dies and leaves the movie, right?
Yeah. I want two Ghostface. Three is too many. I want two Ghostface, and I want one to be Taylor Swift, and then I want the other one to be Travis Kelce.
We'll see if that lasts that long.
Okay, Jason Kelce.
All
well,
right.
Thank you, everybody. Let us know how you're spending the last few days of your Scary Movie Month, and have a happy and safe and fun Halloween. And we will see you next month in November. Rob, tell us what we're going to be doing in November.
Ooh, you just reminded me. November, Noirvember, Sadvember, right? All the Vembers, right? Rob Vember, bitches. It's Rob month. Okay.
Finally.
So we are going to watch some of my favorite movies. All right. Keeping it simple, Rob's favorite movies for Rob Vember. All right.
Yeah.
Start with Terminator 2, baby.
Until next time.
These seats are reserved.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cruel Summer with you.
Yabba dabba doo.
And you.
And you.
And you.